When I walked into the ballroom, my sister looked me up and down and said, "This ballroom is for important guests. Your seat is in the kitchen." I quietly walked to the kitchen. The moment I stepped inside, everyone stopped what they were doing and stared at me. For a second, I wondered if I'd opened the wrong door. The room fell completely silent. The cooks stopped plating dinner. A dishwasher froze with a stack of crystal glasses in his hands. Even the woman decorating desserts slowly lowered the piping bag she was holding. Every pair of eyes was on me. My face burned. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. "My sister told me this is where I'm supposed to eat." No one answered. Instead, an older man, wearing a white chef's jacket, slowly stepped toward me. His gray eyebrows pulled together in confusion. "Your sister?" he asked. I nodded. "Rebecca Morgan." His expression changed instantly. He looked past me toward the ballroom doors before turning back. "And she told you to sit in here?" She said the ballroom was for important guests. A young waitress whispered something to another server. The chef looked genuinely upset. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "there aren't any guest tables in this kitchen." "I know. I figured I'd just stay out of everyone's way." I forced a smile, hoping no one would notice how badly my hands were shaking. My older sister, Rebecca, had always found ways to remind me that I wasn't good enough. Growing up, she was the star. Straight A student, homecoming queen. The daughter my parents couldn't stop bragging about. I was always the quiet one. The one who preferred books over parties. The one who somehow managed to disappoint everyone without even trying. When Rebecca announced she was marrying Tyler, one of Chicago's most successful real estate developers, my parents acted as though she'd won an Olympic medal. Every family dinner became another conversation about Rebecca's perfect wedding. The flowers, the orchestra, the ballroom, the guest list. No one asked how work was going for me. No one remembered that I'd recently earned a promotion at the architectural firm where I'd spent 7 years proving myself. It wasn't new. I was used to being invisible. But today was different. Today, in front of nearly 300 guests, my own sister had quietly looked me in the eyes and sent me to the kitchen like I was an embarrassment she wanted hidden. The chef cleared his throat. "May I ask your name?" "Olivia." His eyes widened almost imperceptibly. "Olivia Morgan?" "Yes." He exchanged another glance with 2 members of the kitchen staff. Something wasn't right. Not with me. With them. They looked nervous. As if they knew something I didn't. The chef finally spoke. "Would you mind waiting here for just a moment?" "Sure." He disappeared through another door. I leaned against the wall, wishing I could disappear. Through the swinging kitchen doors, I could hear laughter from the ballroom. Champagne glasses clinked. A string quartet played softly. Everyone was celebrating, except me. 5 minutes later, the chef returned. Only this time, he wasn't alone. Walking beside him was a sharply dressed woman in her 60s, with silver hair neatly tied back. She wore a tailored navy suit instead of a kitchen uniform, but every employee immediately straightened the moment she entered. She looked at me for several long seconds. Then her eyes filled with emotion. "Are you Olivia Morgan?" "Yes." She smiled sadly. "I've been hoping to meet you all evening." I frowned. "I'm sorry. Have we met?" She slowly shook her head. "No. But your grandfather talked about you almost every week." The words hit me like a freight train. My grandfather? He had passed away nearly a year earlier. He and I had been incredibly close. Unlike everyone else in the family, Grandpa Henry never made me feel second best. He always listened. He remembered birthdays. He came to every school play, even when I only had one line. After he died, our family barely spoke about him. Rebecca, especially. She always claimed he had favored me. The woman extended her hand. "My name is Eleanor Brooks. I owned this hotel with your grandfather for 32 years. I stared at her. My grandfather never owned a hotel. She blinked. "Excuse me?" "He was a high school history teacher." Eleanor looked genuinely confused. "No, Olivia. He retired from teaching in his 50s. But after that, he invested in this property. He became my business partner. I felt the room spin slightly. That's impossible. She studied my face. Then, no one ever told you. Told me what? Before she could answer, the ballroom doors burst open. Rebecca stormed into the kitchen, her wedding dress swishing behind her. There you are. Her smile disappeared the moment she saw Eleanor standing beside me. What are you doing back here? Rebecca snapped. Eleanor didn't move. I invited her to stay. Rebecca laughed nervously. No offense, but she's just my sister. I know exactly who she is, Eleanor replied calmly. Rebecca's confident expression faltered. For the first time that day, my sister looked afraid. I looked from Rebecca to Eleanor, completely confused. Neither of them spoke. Finally, Eleanor broke the silence. Rebecca, would you mind explaining why your sister was sent to the kitchen? Rebecca forced a laugh that sounded painfully fake. She's misunderstanding what happened. I just thought she'd be more comfortable back here. I stared at her. Comfortable? You told me my seat was in the kitchen because the ballroom was for important guests. The entire kitchen went silent again. One of the waitresses actually covered her mouth. Rebecca's smile disappeared. I didn't mean it like that. You said it exactly like that. She glanced toward the ballroom doors, as though hoping someone would rescue her. No one did. Eleanor folded her arms. I've managed this hotel for 30 years. I've seen difficult families before. She looked directly at Rebecca. But I've never seen a bride send her own sister to the kitchen. Rebecca opened her mouth. Nothing came out. I finally turned back to Eleanor. I don't understand. You said my grandfather owned part of this hotel. She nodded. He did. My grandfather was a teacher. He was. He became much more after retirement. She motioned toward a small office beside the kitchen. Come with me. Rebecca immediately stepped forward. That's really not necessary. Eleanor looked at her calmly. I believe it is. Inside the office, Eleanor unlocked an old wooden cabinet. She removed a thick leather binder. The cover read, Founder's Archive. She opened it carefully. The very first photograph showed a much younger Eleanor standing beside my grandfather. I froze. He looked exactly as I remembered him. Same warm smile. Same glasses. Same old wristwatch he wore every Christmas. The picture showed them standing in front of the hotel, while construction crews worked behind them. What? What? My voice barely came out. What is this? Eleanor smiled sadly. Your grandfather invested nearly everything he had after retiring. He believed this neighborhood deserved a beautiful family hotel. They built it together. I slowly flipped through more pages. There were newspaper articles, ribbon-cutting ceremonies, charity events, awards, dozens of photographs. My grandfather appeared in every one. I never knew. Eleanor's expression softened. I'm not surprised. He never liked talking about money. He always said people should love him because of who he was, not because of what he owned. That sounded exactly like Grandpa Henry. He used to tell me, the size of your heart matters more than the size of your wallet. I'd never forgotten those words. Then Eleanor opened another envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. Henry asked me to keep this. She handed it to me. It's addressed to you. My hands trembled. The envelope simply said, For Olivia. I recognized my grandfather's handwriting immediately. Tears blurred my vision before I even opened it. Inside was a single folded page. My sweet Olivia. If you're reading this, then Eleanor has decided the time is finally right. You always wondered why I encouraged your kindness more than your ambition. It was because I knew the world would eventually reward your character more than your achievements. Money can build buildings. Kindness builds families. If our family ever forgets that lesson, I trust you'll remember it. I've watched you become the one person who never expected anything from me, except love. That is why I left something in your care. I stopped reading. What does he mean? Eleanor reached into the binder again. This time she removed a sealed legal document. 6 months before he passed away, Henry changed part of his estate. Rebecca suddenly stood up. That's private. Eleanor looked directly at her. No. It became public after probate. Rebecca's face turned pale. The attorney's seal was still visible. Eleanor continued. Your grandfather donated most of his ownership share to the hotel's charitable foundation. I nodded slowly. That sounded like him. But... She smiled. He kept 10%. I frowned. So? He left that 10% to you. The room disappeared around me. What? You now own part of this hotel. I honestly thought I'd misunderstood. No. Oh. There has to be a mistake. There isn't. Rebecca suddenly interrupted. She doesn't even know anything about hotels. Eleanor ignored her. Your grandfather believed you'd never use it for yourself. He believed you'd protect what he built. I looked back at the letter. Suddenly, another paragraph made sense. Real wealth isn't measured by what you keep. It's measured by what you protect for others. My eyes filled with tears. He trusted me. He did? Rebecca let out a frustrated sigh. This is ridiculous. I helped Grandpa constantly. I visited every week. Eleanor looked at her quietly. No. You visited whenever you needed something. The words landed like a hammer. Rebecca stared at her. You don't know me. I knew Henry. He spoke honestly. He loved both of you. But, he worried about one of you. Silence. He worried that success mattered too much. Rebecca crossed her arms. So, now I'm the villain. No. But today, you embarrassed your own sister, because you believed appearances mattered more than family. No one argued. Because it was true. I slowly looked at Rebecca. Is that why you sent me here? She wouldn't answer. I asked again. Tell me the truth. Finally, she whispered. Some of Tyler's business partners were asking about you. I frowned. So? They asked why you weren't seated near the family table. And? I didn't want them asking questions. What questions? She finally looked me in the eyes. They might think, her voice became quieter, that our family wasn't successful. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You were embarrassed by me? You came alone. So? You drove your old Honda. So? You don't wear designer clothes. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. So, you hid me in the kitchen. I wasn't hiding you. You literally sent me into another room. She didn't deny it. I looked around the office. I spent my whole childhood wondering why nothing I ever did was enough. I graduated with honors. No response. I became an architect. Nothing. I bought my own home. Still nothing. But somehow. I smiled sadly. I'm still embarrassing. Rebecca's eyes finally filled with tears. I didn't realize. No. You didn't. Just then Tyler quietly walked into the office. I've been looking everywhere. He stopped after noticing everyone's faces. What's going on? No one answered. Eleanor handed him the letter. He read it silently. Then he looked at Rebecca. You sent Olivia to the kitchen? Rebecca couldn't even meet his eyes. Tyler sighed deeply. I thought you were joking when you said she'd understand. I never imagined. He looked at me. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I believed him. His expression carried genuine disappointment. He turned toward Rebecca. You owe your sister an apology. Rebecca wiped away tears. I'm sorry. It sounded automatic. I waited. She took a deep breath. No. That's not enough. She looked directly at me. I've spent years competing with you. I blinked. Competing? You never competed with me. I know. That was the problem. She started crying. Every time Grandpa praised your kindness. I felt invisible. So I worked harder. I bought nicer things. I married someone successful. I kept trying to become the granddaughter I thought he wanted. She looked down. And I never realized. He already loved us equally. The room stayed quiet. Finally, I walked over. I never wanted your life. I just wanted my sister. She cried harder. For the first time in years, I believed she finally understood what she'd taken from both of us. An hour later, something happened I never expected. Rebecca walked back into the ballroom. She took the microphone from the bandleader. Nearly 300 guests turned toward her. She looked terrified. I need everyone's attention. The room fell silent. I made a terrible mistake tonight. She looked toward me. I publicly embarrassed the most important person in this room. Every head turned. My sister. Gasps spread across the ballroom. Rebecca continued. I treated appearances as though they mattered more than love. I was wrong. She motioned for me to come forward. I almost refused. Instead, I slowly walked into the ballroom. This time, no one looked past me. Every eye stayed on me. Rebecca hugged me. A real hug. Not the polite kind we exchanged at holidays. I'm sorry. I truly am. I hugged her back. I forgive you. The applause started quietly. Then the entire ballroom stood. I looked toward Eleanor. She smiled through tears. Later that evening, she walked beside me onto the hotel's terrace. Your grandfather would have loved tonight. I'm not sure. He would have hated the beginning. She laughed softly. True. But he would have loved how it ended. I looked back through the ballroom windows. Rebecca and Tyler were greeting guests together. For once, she wasn't pretending to be perfect. She was simply being herself. Months later, I accepted a seat on the hotel's charitable foundation board, not because of the ownership, because it gave me a chance to continue the work Grandpa believed in. We expanded scholarship programs. We hosted free community dinners every Thanksgiving. We created internships for local students. Every decision reminded me of him. Rebecca volunteered too, not because anyone expected her to, because she wanted to rebuild what pride had nearly destroyed. Our relationship didn't become perfect overnight. Trust never works that way. But little by little, we became sisters instead of rivals. Sometimes I still think about the moment I walked into that kitchen believing I'd been sent there because I wasn't important. What I didn't know was that the people in that kitchen had stopped and stared because they all recognized the face in the photographs hanging in the staff hallway. Henry Morgan had spoken about me for years. He'd shown them pictures from every birthday, every graduation, every Christmas. They knew exactly who I was, long before I walked through that door. To them, I wasn't an unwanted guest. I was the granddaughter of the man who had helped build the place they proudly called home. That night taught me something I'll never forget. People who truly matter will never measure your worth by your clothes, your car, your relationship status, or where you're seated. The people who deserve a place in your life will recognize your value long before you ever have to prove it. And sometimes, the door that feels like the greatest humiliation becomes the one that leads you to the truth that changes your life forever.